Duygu, would you like to do it this time or the moderation?
I can start then. Conversation to you.
That's okay. We'll okay, 20 seconds.
It's like in the morning we did it. I will start and you will continue.
Mm-hmm. Duygu,
Hello everyone, welcome back. 4th International Women Filmmakers Festival. We are with Raphaela Schmid, director of Mene movie, which is screened in international selection at World Cinema selection in our festival. She's with us, and let me first of all welcome to our festival, and let me introduce you a little bit to our audience. Raphaela Schmid was born in Linz in 1990. She began her studies of philosophy and German philosophy at the FU Berlin. Later then she continued at the University of Sao Paulo at the University of Vienna. She currently lives in Vienna, and she has written and directed numerous short films. Since 2016, she is studying directing and screenwriting at Film Academy in Vienna. So she's with us with her touching movie Mene. I'm giving the conversation to Merve here. Here you are.
Okay, thank you very much, Duygu. First of all, maybe it will be useful to mention the synopsis very shortly. By the way, Raphaela, is it Mene or Mene? How do you pronounce your movie?
The German title is Mene and the English one is Mene.
Okay.
Okay.
So both versions are correct.
Okay. So Mene, in Mene, it all starts with an accident. Little Paula pushes her sister Anna's hamster out of the window while trying to feed it. She desperately wants to bring it back to life with spells and magic. Meanwhile, her mother Isabella is constantly trying to reconstruct Anna's birthday cake from last year. So, when I first saw your movie, to tell you the truth, it was not. It was in Uşak Short Film Festival, and I was fascinated by the opening scene and the opening conversation of your film. So it is very touching for us, and it talks about women's world, which is very suitable for our festival's theme, especially for this year, because as we can see, it's a very emotional movie which based its story on a female-oriented world. I want to start my questions with how did you find this film idea, and why did you start with this kind of magic spells? And also at the background of the story, there is a death, and there are two deaths actually. So would you like to tell us about your movie? How did you create this story and why?
So it all started with the story a friend of mine told me. He told me about a family who had lost their child, and they still made birthday parties for her. And I was very touched by this story, and so I started to research. Mm-hmm. And then this story kind of developed out of it. And yeah, as you already said, it's about death, it's about grief, and also a lot about rituals and how to deal with death, how to deal with the kind of the vacuum and the empty space that it leaves the people with. And yeah, I also had a lot of as I already told you, a lot of research and talked to people who had lost their children and how they dealt with it. So that was kind of how I got into the topic of the story. And there are two stories in one. So it's the story of the little sister of the child who died, who tries to bring the hamster back to life, and at the same time her mother tries kind of to bring her daughter back to life. So it's kind of a parallel story, and everybody has to deal with death, and they both kind of can't accept the fact that they can't outsmart death, that they have to, that it's a final decision, and the child tries to find her way with magic, and the mother is simply not accepting the truth she lives in right now.
So I was going to ask as well, why did you choose to use a magic based story to construct the main part of the plot?
For me, it's the kind of naive world the child lives in. So that made sense for me, that the child would think that maybe the magic can work, that maybe magic can bring the hamster back to life. And for me, that's part of this child world where magic is kind of still a possibility.
Yeah. And also, you are mentioning about children's world, a child's world, and also you work with an animal, a real animal. So, what were the challenges of working with children and also with an animal, which is not, I suppose, easy to control in the framing?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time we worked with a dead animal, so that was easier. Like the dead hamster, it's a dead animal, and only in a very short sequence we see the living hamster. So it was not so hard to work with the animal, because most of the time we had to deal with a kind of package of fur, not really an animal. And with the child, we did a lot of casting. And when we saw Lola for the first time, I was really amazed, because she was really great. And of course it was, of course it's always interesting to work with children, and things happen that you can't plan, but I think that's also the magic about it. So
Duygu, you have two other questions. I intentionally skipped them because they are very good. So maybe you want to talk about these two questions.
Thank you. First of all, your little child casting was so fitted to the role, to the character. Thank you for that, first of all. And I felt she's a little witch. She was such a good casting. So I felt that the older sister Isabella, the character's name, am I right? Yeah. Someone more logical person, and Franca, the witch one, is much more sensitive and imaginative person. We see that with her relationship with her nephew, and even in the movie, their dialogue in the kitchen begins with the talk of meditation methods, some kind. And I feel Isabella has some barriers or constructed walls around her after the tragedy she has been through. Is that true? Am I feeling right?
Yeah, definitely. Her sister is, so Isabella is really tied up in her own world, and that's also why her daughter has the feeling that she's kind of left alone, and why she is not confronting her mother or simply telling her, the hamster died, but she really tries to solve it on her own, because her mother is so, still in her mind. So the death of her child takes so much space that there isn't really space left for her other kid. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe in the Dead Hamster, I felt that in a way as an audience, I felt some part of the little girl's Paula's childhood is also dead, maybe because of the tragedy of her older sister, and the dead hamster is a metaphor for everything. I feel in that way. I don't know if you aimed that, however. So it's very touchy and symbolic for me as an audience. Apart from the story, your technique, your framing, and using the camera supports to see the greater picture. In fact, when the hamster falls and the little girl follows downstairs, finds the hamster, and so on, is above shots, and at the later on the garden when they are with her aunt, we see them in a wide angle. So these angles, your shooting technique also tells a greater picture to the audience, and we feel the inner world of Paula. Am I right? Did you aim that, or I am just imaginative as her?
Yeah, so there are two aspects that were really important to me when it comes to the language of the images. So it's on the one hand the architecture of the house. Mm-hmm. So I wanted it to be really minimalistic and clean architecture and with very straight lines, and because for me that was kind of a symbol of the inner life of the mother who is trying to have everything in order and trying to reconstruct the birthday cake. And the movement of the camera, when the camera moves without a person moving, so it's kind of independent. That for me was kind of the attempt to make the presence of the dead daughter visible, so that you can feel that there is still something going on. And also the windows and the look out of the window, and the perspective of the camera, which is looking through the window at the actors, for me was also a very important element of the story, because for me it was kind of a symbol of the mother who can see outside, but she can't go because she's still
in her own world. So,
sorry.
No, here.
As far as I know, the film has been circulating around since March 2019. So I guess it has already traveled lots of film festivals, and I really wonder the audience reception, the feedback coming from the audience. How were the reactions to the film?
It's hard to say. Very different. We had screenings with a younger audience who sometimes laughed whereas the grown-ups didn't. So it's so hard to say. I think it also always depends on the
audience
on the audience
geography.
Yeah. But it's. So I can't really say this was the main reaction I got, but it was,
Okay, so most of our audience is consisted of university students who are cinephiles or who are film students, and the biggest problem with making a movie, apart from the intellectual background, the financial issues. So can you tell us a little bit more about your pre-production process? How did you manage to do this film? What kind of funds are you applying, or is there I mean, because sometimes we ask that question, and most of the people say it was my graduation project. So was it something like this? But as far as I can see, you have already made 6 films apart from this one, right? So it is your 7th film.
So, it was not my graduation film. It was just a film I made during my studies at the Film Academy in Vienna. And actually, it was pretty tough to make the movie because we had very little financing, and the funds we applied for we didn't get. So, right now, I have no idea how we managed it in the end. But and we were very lucky that we found this location and they let us film there. And there were very many aspects that we were, I think, simply lucky. And also we had the equipment from the university and a great crew. And but it was really, really tough actually to make this movie because we had very little money. And so it was really very basic.
Sir, your actresses behind the child casting are famous and at least known artists. As far as I know, they have a filmography background. So, how was working with them, and how you managed to work with them?
The actresses, also I did a casting, and they applied for the casting, and to work with them was really great. With one of them, I only had a small Zoom casting because she was living in Berlin. But actually, it was really great to work with these two.
They were also very successful. In fact, I have all the inner words, both 3 actresses. So, Merve, will you continue? Then we will take some questions from chat, maybe.
That's okay. If you want to check the chat session, I have a question during that time, maybe. So, currently, are you working on a new project, and how do you think the field, the production system has been transforming with this post-COVID world? I mean, did it affect you in a more advantageous or disadvantageous way? And how do you cope with this situation? I think it's more than one question, sorry.
So I finished my next movie like 1 year ago. And the situation was this, that the movie the world premiere was planned, but then it was cancelled due to the pandemic. And so with this movie, it's a completely different experience now, because most of the screenings are online. And right now I'm writing, and I don't. So I didn't plan a project during the pandemic, and I'm trying to use the time and the lockdown time for writing new scripts.
Chat questions, they are asking which kind of, there is a technical question, in fact, which kind of cameras, equipment you have used in the film. You said you get from Institute, as far as I understand, but I think they are asking technical details about your...
So we had a Sony F65 camera, as far as I remember, and some lighting equipment, but the shoot was years ago, and I really can't tell you which lights we took from the university also.
But by the way, when talking about technique, I remembered another feeling and detail about the movie. Inside shots were much more darker than it used to be as a natural light, and outside shots, garden shots were much more lighter than it used to be. In a way, I felt in that way. The natural light is much lighter for me as an audience. So I think that's also another technique that you use to tell your story.
What was the question now?
As a cinematographic choice, the inside shots were much darker and outside shots, garden shots were much lighter than the natural light, sunlight. In a way, I felt in that way. Is it deliberate choice or it's just my conception?
Well, I think it's always when you're out and in the sun, it's lighter than when you're inside. But
okay, I felt the inside light is the light of the mother, or her dark side maybe. So I felt in that way. Okay, thank you.
So, did you have a research for the architecture as well? I mean, was it in the script to have this kind of lighting, decoration, or did you just find it, which was already there?
So no, it was first. It was in the script that I wanted it to be a minimalistic, modern architecture, and then we did a lot of location scouting until we found this place.
Mm-hmm. And my final question: did you eat that cake?
Yeah, at some point we ate it.
Okay, from my part, that's the end of the questions. And if you want to add anything, Duygu or Raphaela, if you want to add something about your movie, or if you are following the festival, were you able to see any of the films, or how is it going for you?
Right now, if I was able, no, so far I wasn't able to watch the films, but there's still some time left.
We hope to see you in our festival as well as physically. We're glad to host you, in fact, this year or following years with your next projects, future projects. Nice to meet you so much.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your contribution. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.